First of all, let me say good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out to the Myrtle Grove Revitalization Group meeting. I will tell you that I did not see as many of you at the last meeting as I have at this meeting. I'm very thankful for that, though. Very happy for that. I'd like to do some sort of quick introductions. I see some people around the crowd that I'd like to say hello to. Commissioner Doug Underhill, this is his area, and we'd like to say hello to Doug. Absolutely. We would like to say hello to Fred Gunther, the new and current owner of 5406 Lee and Highway. We would like to say hello to Alex Kiss that will be presenting. He is from the Banyan Development Group from Orlando, Florida. I hope I got that right. If I don't, at any time, please correct me. I'm easy to be corrected. For some of you that have never sat through one of my meetings, they're often entertaining, but they're very task-oriented. I move the agenda pretty quickly. I ask two things of this meeting, and this is all I ask. I've ever asked of any meeting when I sat down and I put this group together. Number one, that everybody have a voice in the community that wants to have a voice. And number two, we not blame someone for any past things or things that are going to come in the future. That's it. It's a pretty simple thing. We don't blame folks. We play nice, and that's pretty simple. That's what we teach our elementary school students, and that's what we hope to accomplish here this evening. The other person that I want to bring up to the mic and thank personally is the pastor of this church. Pastor Riley has been an amazing backbone for this community for a number of years. And he's done a great job at sort of putting all the voices together here. Absolutely, please. And most importantly, and it goes without saying, that he has allowed us space. He allows us some space to use here at the church. We started out in the very small sanctuary. And it started out with just a few members, and when I say a few members, it was me talking to myself in there about how I want to make things better in this community. But through that time, and it's only been just a couple of months, we've put together a real team here of concerned individuals in this community. I also, before I bring them up for prayer, I'm going to say hello to my board. There's a few of my board members sitting around. If you'd like to raise your hand, please do. If you don't, that's okay. But we do appreciate the board and the things that you guys have done. Pastor, please come up and say a word for us and a prayer for us this evening to get us started.
We do welcome you to Myrtle Grove United Methodist Church. I've been pastoring in this area along with Pastor Ron Lentini in the Baptist Church and also Father Casserly, who just retired at Little Flower, and it's been my privilege and pleasure to get to know so many good Methodists, Baptists, and Catholics, and thank you. Yeah. You'd think I'd pack a church out like this every Sunday, that I'd be used to a crowd like this. But anyway, we're so glad that you're here, and I'm glad to be a part. After 8 years, I've looked to find ways to get the Myrtle Grove community together. I'm originally from L.A., Lower Alabama, which we live in. My wife's from Dothan, Alabama, but we love the Myrtle Grove community. We served 6 years at Gonzales United Methodist Church. They call this the other side of the track. I had people to say, "Oh, you're going to the hood." And I want to tell you what, I love the other side of the track, and I love the hood because I love the people of Myrtle Grove. You are good folks. You are good folks. And I've had the privilege of meeting Ronnie Rivera, and as he shared his vision to start a group of citizens and a group of people in our community that could have a voice, and that we could get into the ears and minds of our county commissioners, and that we could look to funnel vital resources here in our own community to building up our community and making it stronger for our young people and for our children. That's something I wanted to be a part of. And I want to encourage you to also, if you are in this Myrtle Grove community, and I'm assuming you're here because you are, that you would be a part of what we're trying to do and accomplish here. And as Ronnie said earlier, we want everyone to have a voice and everyone to be respectful of everybody else's voice. I wish I had another building to put you in, but this is the largest building on this campus that I have. And so you are in a sanctuary. And if some of you are here for the first time, if you'll notice, the roof is still standing. Because that was my fear. First time I went to a church, I said, oh, the roof is going to fall in. I'm in the building. Well, it's still standing. But we're glad, so glad that you're here. I simply ask that you be mindful of the sanctuary that we're in. This is the house of God, and that our thoughts, our words, and our actions would represent that truth of why we're here. I appreciate Ronnie asking me to lead in prayer, and let's do so. Father, we love this country. We love our nation. But, Lord, as we sit in our own living rooms and listen to the nightly news, we are painfully reminded of how divided we really are. Father, it is not a government or a party that can bring unity, but it is only you. And it's only people who have your spirit and have your care and your concern in their hearts that realize that, Lord, that we're not against one another, that we're for one another. It doesn't matter where we're from, if we're from one side of the track or the other, or the color of our skin, that we're all creatures and we're all created by our Creator, you. So we are a part of one race, the human race. And Father, I just pray tonight that you would be with each and every one, and that, Lord, you would guide our thoughts. You would guide our conversation and our very words and actions. We simply pray that your will be done in this community, and your will be done in our lives. We'll give you thanks and praise for all that you do for us. In Christ's name, amen. Thank you so much, and thank you, Ronnie.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir.
God bless.
Thank you. I'm going to need it. Okay, just before we get started, we bring up the two presenters. Just kind of give everyone a background of really how we got here and why we got here, I think is important. Just a couple of minutes here. When we put this group together, we really had started thinking about youth services. It's something as a community we had thought about. Our board had talked about youth services. And, sort of the natural reaction would be to go to what was always the centerpiece of the Myrtle Grove community, and that was the YMCA property. And so a lot of us for a long time had described that property as the YMCA property, or the old YMCA. You hear a lot of people say the old YMCA. I do think it's probably important to start calling that the former YMCA property, because it no longer belongs to the YMCA. That property now belongs to Galvez Town LLC, Fred Gunther's company. And so we had no idea when we got involved moving forward that there was even a bid on the table. We had no idea that there was anybody involved in the purchase of the property. And lo and behold, literally, I promise you it was the last hour, I got a call from one of our committee members saying that the property had been sold and the county was moving to fund this property for a development for $37,500, a tax credit, if you will, to help out the developer. My concern when I went to the county commission and I asked them to not move forward with a recommendation, my concern was twofold. One, not everybody had a voice in the vetting of that process, at least not to my knowledge that I was aware of. And if they did, then it certainly wasn't conducive to the members of the community. Number two, our biggest concern probably was that taxpayers had not asked for that property, and that we wanted to make sure that the county commission was aware of that. And so when I went to the county commission, and I presented about 10 days back now, Commissioner Underhill listened to the concerns and immediately tried to pull it off the agenda. At the time, Commissioner May asked that we vet the process together as a group and see what they had to offer. And so in order for me to sort of take a step back, Commissioner May asked, would we host this event to listen to the two gentlemen that are on our agenda tonight, and I agreed. I told him that it would be perfect timing. We had a meeting on the 18th. They have some paperwork that has to be in Tallahassee by the 20th with the county commission's approval or disapproval. And we definitely thought we would make sure that we gave them a fair chance. And, Myrtle Grove has always been a community about fair chances. Let me, before I get off this mic tonight, don't let me give you the impression that I am a person that is opposed to affordable housing. You're looking at a product that grew up in affordable housing. I grew up in a project here in Pensacola. I won't name it. In fact, I lived in two. Prior to Florida State University and a few degrees, I lived in affordable housing. So I can't say that I don't believe in it, or I don't think that it's something that the community should have. I think the biggest concern, again, is where the property is located, the centerpiece of the city, and how it's funded. I think those are the two big concerns that our committee moved forward with the County Commission. Commissioner Underhill, do you feel like that's a fair assessment of where we are currently? Yes, sir. Okay. Then I am going to move forward. I am going to let Mr. Kiss come up and speak, and we will move from there. Come on up.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you all for coming. It's a great showing, and it's wonderful. There's so many people, and thanks for the opportunity to speak and explain ourselves. We wanted to come and hope to address concerns and answer any questions you may have, and just hope to clarify this whole process so that we're all on the same page, because we're here to hopefully provide a great benefit to the community. So I want to go through a few things, who I am, who our company is, the potential development that we're looking at constructing, and the tenants, and the affordable housing for workforce families that we're looking to produce, and just hope to clarify that for everyone, because I think there might be a bit of a misconception with regard to what affordable housing, workforce housing for families is, and how it's funded and how it's maintained. I was born and raised in Florida, graduated from Florida State University. I've been doing affordable workforce housing development for 5 years. My father is my business partner. He's been in it for about 30 years, and we recently started Banyan Development Group with two savvy property owner and manager operator types that have 10,000 units throughout the Southeast. So this is right in their wheelhouse, and they run and manage this type of community very well, and bring in tenants that are desirable and work and have no criminal backgrounds. It's a really great program, the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, because what it does is, with a contribution like $37,500, which I should clarify is already earmarked for affordable housing. It's going to be spent on affordable housing somewhere in Escambia County. So it's a contribution that is a de facto approval from the county to the development. It meets the specifications that then the developer can bring in $20 million to the community to help fund it, and it's a tremendous contribution. And so I have some examples of some product types that I could show everyone what it's going to look like. It's going to be very well built. It's going to need to last for 50 years. Concrete construction with a really nice facade and amenities. We're looking at a pool. We're looking at nice landscaping. It'll be an asset to the community, and I hope that everyone will put their input forward and share their concerns with what we're looking to build, because we're here to get input. I'm here to listen. I'm simply trying to clarify a few things, and then I'd love to take questions from anyone who has any thoughts. $20 million will be the total development cost, and that's a lot of construction, and that money will feed into the community, and bringing 110 units of workforce housing with families will stimulate the economy, will bring jobs, and it'll bring retail, it'll bring groceries, it'll bring a lot of things that are an asset to the community, because it forms an anchor that other businesses can build off of. And I just want to talk a little bit about the tenants that would be living in a community like this. These are people who, for a one-bedroom unit, which we would charge $590, that would be $27,000 a year for a one-bedroom, for the income to qualify to rent one of these one-bedroom apartments. $32,000 a year for a two-bedroom and $37,000 a year for the whole family's income for a three-bedroom apartment, which would be $810 a month. And so that's what Myrtle Grove is. I mean, this is a typical development for what Myrtle Grove would need. I mean, a lot of people struggle to afford decent housing, and what this would be attractive, would have services, and it would be a place for people who are struggling to afford housing as a real a great thing for these type of people to afford a better car or whatever people are looking for in their lives. This will help assuage some of the pressure from high rental prices elsewhere. So I just wanted to put that forward, and there's a rigorous screening for potential tenants that we don't want criminals. We don't want people who don't have a job. This is for working families. I mean, I can't stress that enough. People like you, and I just want to make sure that's clear. And we're happy to take a waiting list for anybody that wants to live here. I mean, we want to involve the community in what we're doing. So I just want to make that clear. If there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I mean, the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program is the program for building workforce affordable housing, because what it does is it allows private investors to invest in the development, equity, ownership in the development for a credit to their income taxes. That's what the tax credit is. It's not the $37,500 that is already earmarked for affordable housing and is being contributed by the county through the SHIP administrator, who I think is here tonight to clarify any of this if anyone has any questions for her. And then what that does is it allows us to apply for the tax credits to get the tremendous funding to build this development. So please, if you have any questions, I don't know how you want to structure this, but
just thank you, and we're going to bring up Fred, and what we'll do is at the end, we'll just like sort of I explained, we'll take a question and answer session from the people that want to use their 3 minutes for that, for sure.
Sure.
Absolutely, man. Fred. Bring up Fred Gunther. He is the owner of Galvez Town LLC. I have had an opportunity to talk to Fred on a couple of occasions. He's really not as bad as you may think. He's really a great guy, obviously. We may not all agree on things, but I can tell you he's a great guy, and he's a man of his word, and he does care about things. So y'all listen to Fred Gunther for a little bit. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Ronnie. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank Ronnie for inviting us here today, Pastor Riley for hosting all of us, and all of you for attending. It's not easy to set aside time, for discussions like these, so you definitely deserve to be recognized for your involvement, which is very impressive this evening. I also believe it's important to recognize that the Myrtle Grove YMCA was an important part of this community's past. My brother and I own the property. We're from Pensacola. We grew up in Navy Point. He and most of my family attended Escambia High School, so we understand the frustration of losing a community resource. We visited the Myrtle Grove Y growing up, and his son, my nephew, learned to, play baseball there, starting with t-ball. So, we participated in this community firsthand over the years. I have friends in every area of this county, and I provide for my family, by participating in developments which are good for the community. Investment breeds investment, and I certainly believe that a $20 million investment in Myrtle Grove is good for the Myrtle Grove community directly and for our community overall. So, in addition, I think it's important for you to know the facts. I understand there's been some interest from other community groups in acquiring the property in the past. And, my brother and I signed a contract to purchase the property along with the Downtown Y in April of this year. We chose to partner with Banyan Development because they and their partners have an incredible track record of success in modern community building. So if Banyan's not successful in obtaining their tax credits, it's important to know that this property won't just remain vacant, and it won't be a park, you know, or a community center like it was. You know, we've promised to sell this property to one or two other buyers, you know, that are already lined up if Banyan is not awarded the tax credits. You know, and I've just... Pardon? It's a fact. I mean, I don't know what to... It's not going to... I think it's just important for you to know what the consequences are. I mean, it is...
Hold on. I promised everyone two things. Remember, everybody gets a voice, includes his. Number two, we all play together fairly. Okay? If you feel like it's a threat, hold that till you're open 3 minutes. And then feel free to express it in any manner that you wish. But I asked that we not do those things. Number one. Absolutely. When your time comes, when he's done, it's going to be the open forum. Absolutely, and that's on the agenda. You'll have an opportunity to ask everyone, if that's your choice. But this is my group, and I'm going to lead this agenda the way I see fit. That's just the way it is. Everybody gets a voice, including you and him. That's it.
Thank you, Ronnie. And I've shared with Ronnie who the other buyers are and what their intent is. I mean, I think I'm just trying to be straight with you. You know, I think you deserve to make a choice as to whether, you know, if you don't want a, you know, workforce housing, you know, development here, you'd rather have these other options. You know, that's something that, you know, you're certainly, you know, we want you to express your opinion. You know, so, but you should know what, you know, essentially what the facts are. So.
Fred, are you ready for questions now? If you're opening the door.
Well, it was my understanding everyone was going to speak, and I'm happy to come up and answer any questions. I'm not. Okay.
Are you ready to answer questions, or is that where you want to stand on this issue?
Well, I'm happy to answer. Yeah, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. So, I think that if there are questions about the development itself, then
You've got to get off the mic in order to do that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So at this time, what we're going to do, number one, I'm going to take this jacket off. I've been working since 5 o'clock this morning. We're going to get down to business, okay? Number two, if you have an address that you want to ask a question, if you want to talk to one of these guys, there are 3 microphones if I'm not mistaken. Come up, get in line, and we'll start this process. I'm going to hold it down to 2 or 3 minutes, and we're going to move this agenda. It's probably already close to 7 o'clock. Most of you probably have some kids at home that have to be fed. People have to be at work in the morning. Up to the mics. Let's go. That's how we do this at this meeting.
Hello, my Myrtle Grovians. The reason I'm here today, excuse me?
Your name and your address.
My name is Karen, and I live on 46th Avenue. I own 4 houses in this community. I own a business in this community. Every time we have had a low-income, multi-story complex built, it has turned into a Truman Arms, which will plummet our property value. Our schools don't have room for all these new students to come in either. And I'm going to be buried at this cemetery, and I don't want somebody pissing on my grave. And that's what I have to say about it. Hi, my name is Deborah Wilson.
Again, let me reinstate that you're here to have a voice. I wish we were in another building, but you're in a sanctuary. I understand that sometimes emotions can get heated, but I'd ask you to watch your language. I'll not ask a second time. Okay? And so the next time we'll ask you to leave. That's all of us. Okay? Wonderful. Again, I love you, and I thank you for being here.
Hi, my name is Deborah Wilson. I live at 151 Vassar. I'm a 4th generation Myrtle Grovian.
all the way to my great-grandmother. We have 6 cemetery plots out there. And my feeling is that this is a small community that's already populated, and we will be overpopulated. Our road structure, I can't even get anybody on the phone to fix 50th Avenue. I've called Mr. Dunn's office. I have been put through channels. I can't even get somebody to fix the potholes. I have to hit a garbage can to get out of the way of another. It's eroding so bad, I have to hit a garbage can to get out of the way of another truck. I can't even get the potholes fixed. Code enforcement isn't doing their job around here. And I've looked up statistics. In 3 different housing projects in this community, and it is 60% crime in the national, over the national of Florida. It's all run down. Right now we have drug houses everywhere in our neighborhoods. I know y'all have seen them. And we can't get anybody to come enforce any of that. So how are we going to get enforcement of anything else? And we own a commercial business and 6 houses in this area. Now, if you want more building area for your subsidized housing, if this one goes up, we sell, and you can have that. Buy that. Because my mother is 78 years old, and she's scared to death of this. And she's ready to sell the minute she heard it. And I'm really not ready to move. Thank you.
Well, nobody's asked the question. I mean, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think probably.
I'm not here to refute. All I'm
Sure.
is we're going to have security. Excuse me. Yeah. Alex Kiss again. We'll have security at these developments so that crime is not in our interest. We want to have people in our community that do not have a criminal background, and we will.
Okay, thanks. Let's take the next. Go ahead, please.
My name is Diane Wood, and I don't live here in the community. However, I've worked here in the community for 30 years. I'm a property manager, so I probably have more than 3 minutes I'd like to say, but I can't. I don't know if you're aware, but we already have 1,150 low-income / HUD apartments in the area within a 5-mile radius. I personally run an apartment community that I've been on for 30 years, which is basically 90% military. However, there's 2 communities next to me that have changed to tax credit and/or low-income housing. Are everything in the area. I've had cars broken into on the property. It has increased, all of it. Security, if you have security on your property, I'm going to talk about that. You are guaranteeing everyone in that property that they are going to be secure. And you are setting yourself up for the biggest lawsuit you've ever seen. Have you read the report? Have you read what happened last year at Sunrise Apartments, where there was a resident murdered there, and that apartment community was sued for several $millions. You really need to look at it that you are guaranteeing security. You're guaranteeing them that they are secure if you have a security officer on your property. Stoddard Place Apartments opened up. They were supposed to be, I live out in that area, they were supposed to be a tax credit property. Very, very nice community. However, the crime in that area is unbelievable. It's gone down. There is no good management at any of these properties. That's the one main problem. The other problem is that the landlord-tenant laws are not going to stand by you. They're not. Have you been aware of the new criminal laws where you have to allow certain criminals on your property? You can only go back 7 years now on certain things. We have 2 communities by me. Every month we get a report anytime a child predator moves into the area. I have to call 2 properties next to me every time I get one of them and ask them if they are aware that they have a child predator living on their property and there is a daycare center within less than a mile of those communities. It's not a good idea. You can't guarantee any security on this at all. You can't guarantee who's going to live there unless you have somebody inspecting that apartment every day. It's not a good idea.
Thank you. We should.
My name's Tim Dorsey. I live at 1933 Dunlap. I have a few questions, actually. I came to the meeting, I was expecting some drawings, some blueprints or something like that, but what's the breakdown as far as 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms? No. How many units how many units you got?
51 bedrooms, 58 two bedrooms, and the balance, I think, maybe it's 20. It's about 25% ones, 50%, a little over 50% twos, and about 25% threes.
Okay. See, I've done maintenance on these apartment complexes, most of them around town. I've worked at Bayou, a lot of them. Some of them are, all of them are efficiencies, 1 bedrooms, but I worked at Bayou Marcus and that had 3 of them there. Now, what about the management company? I mean, are y'all hiring staff, or are y'all going to outsource that to one of the local real estate companies to manage for you?
Our partners are property managers, owners and property managers of 10,000 units, and so this is what they do, and they're really good at it, and they keep these places safe. And so the property manager will be our company, an affiliate of our company called AGPM, a green property manager, and you can look them up on the internet, agpmonline.com, and it'll give you a little information, a lot of information about who they are. And
is there any of their properties in Pensacola?
In Pensacola, I do not believe so. No, they have 10,000 in southeast.
Basically, what he's asking is if there's any jobs available to
Right.
help maintain these.
And there will be.
Then
Yeah,
if
of course.
there's not, because there's nothing in Pensacola, then that's not helping our community.
No,
Let's stick to the same point.
the management, the ownership of the management company will be our affiliate, but the employees will be from the area. To answer your question, maintenance, on-site staff, security, etc.
Those will be local employees.
Yeah, local employees. Yeah, that's
Okay.
part of the jobs that will be created.
Yeah, and I think some of the concerns that I'm hearing from the audience is, we see a lot of these properties come in, get built, starter places one, and they run down, But we see the opposite of that, and that's kind of what we do, is we rehab some of these low-income, been abused properties. Like Royal Crest over there on Old Quarry, that used to be just totally, I don't say hoodified, but it was really kind of ugly. And the last couple of years, we got a new management company in there. I don't know who it is, but they're doing a good job. So what kind of assurances can you give us that you're going to keep on staff and you're going to keep up with the property, or are you just here to sell it? Are you here just to build it, flip it?
No, everyone, I would encourage you to go to agpmonline.com and take a look at our company, our affiliate company, AGPM. The 2 owners that are our partners. It's us 2 and Scott Zimmerman and Lou Vaught, who run AGPM, and they'll own it, and they run developments 10,000 units worth all over the southeast. And so, what was I going to say about but it'll be concrete construction. This needs to last 50 years. Concrete construction, and we're looking at 3-story garden apartments. So, I can answer some more questions afterwards.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go this side now. Yes, ma'am, please.
My name is Patty Winfrey, and I own 2 properties in this area. I think I've almost had my question answered, but I've never heard of this term, workforce affordable housing. I guess what my question is this HUD subsidized housing? Okay.
This is not HUD housing. It is not public housing. Private developers own, operate, private construction companies construct. We get private investment from banks and insurance companies. We get the award of tax credits that we then sell to the investor for their equity investment. About 80% of the total development cost, 80% of the $20 million comes from private investment. That's the vehicle to fund these projects. And so there's no HUD involvement at all. It's private banks lending. It's private equity coming in from the tax credit sale. And it's all private, all managed by us, and so there's no HUD influence. So don't confuse other low-income projects, public housing, with low-income tax credit developments for 60% area median income people, which is the average income in Myrtle Grove. It's about $33,000 per family, and for a 2-bedroom, which is meant for 3 people, that's $32,000 a year. So it really fits the community's need for affordable housing pretty well, we thought. But Any other questions, please?
Yeah. Hold on. Next. Oh, no, you're done. You still got time, please.
So am I to understand that the people who are renting here, there will absolutely be no subsidies? They will pay from they go to work, they pay their rent.
Correct.
Thank you.
But hold on now. I get to vet this too. That's a good thing about having a committee. Hold on now. I get to vet it some. So, but there is a matrix. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be petitioning the county for taxpayer dollars. Well, you've got to have some support. I mean, there's some buy-in at the local level, so there is at least at that level, just starting from there. But certainly there's got to be a sliding scale. Otherwise, it would be called workforce or affordable low income or any other euphemism you give it.
The income level is capped at 60. You have to 60% of the area median income, which is about $60,000 in Escambia County. And
that's what she asked.
What's that?
That's what she asked. You got to tell people the truth. That's all.
I'm trying to. What do you mean the truth? I'll repeat it so everyone can hear. But the area median income in Escambia County is $60,000, and 60% of that is $35,000.
You got to say it all.
And so,
that's fine.
Okay.
Just got to say it all.
I'm not sure.
Next.
Hi, I'm Randall Smith. I live at 5514 Flaxman Street. If you're not aware, the very back corner of the YMCA is my front property line. I had trouble ever since, I'll say, when a contractor comes in and builds, my property's prone to flooding because of, we get a lot of water through my property, okay? So now you're fixing to develop a 100-something family dwelling housing on that same property, basically going to end up dumping more water on my property, and you're going to go back to the 100-year flood. Well, the problem is there's a 100-year flood retention pond right next to my house that I have to deal with all the time now that still floods, okay? So that's not fixed. They don't maintain it like they're supposed to. You're coming in and you're asking everybody in this entire room to trust you, and you're the one that's in charge of this stuff. So you expect us to trust you when all we have to do is, well, the problem is 6 months after you build this thing, you could flip it and sell it, and there's nothing that can stop you from doing it. And then we're back. Well, that's one problem I have with it. The other is that I have a different aspect of the way things happen in Escambia County because I'm a nighttime paramedic. So I see the murders, the stabbings, the rapes, the child abuse, the adult abuse, the breaking into cars, the assaults, the batteries. I see it firsthand because I'm the one that's got to fix them when it happens. Well, that's my front property line that you're fixing to build this low-income housing on. So I'm very, very worried about it. One, exactly what is it that you think can help the community by bringing all these low-income housing at our front door?
If I may, just to have a minute to respond, please. And I'll respond to your last question last because I feel like that might incite some activity. But as far as retention, there's regulations in place. This is a highly regulated program. We cannot allow more water once we put impermeable surfaces on to flow out into anything else. We have to have retention on our site for our site. There's no way that we will be impacting the community at large. The county laws, the water management district laws are all there to protect everyone, and we're to a pretty civilized point in development in our state and our country that it's really hard for the developer with all the regulations. So I wouldn't worry about any of that. And
you say that?
You can look it up.
Let me give you an example of what happened when Tranquil Villas, which is a retirement behind you. I was building my house. Okay, I was in the process of building the pad for my house, and we got flooded. Okay, during their process of building, it washed half of my foundation away, and nobody did anything to refund any of the money that I'd already spent on my stuff. And now you're going to build something at my front door, and I'm supposed to trust you.
Stop you right now.
Okay.
Stop. Yes, ma'am. Let me ask before you start. I do want to ask one question before we get started. Before we get started with this one, is there? Oh yeah, he's got to redress. Please, yeah, please redress. Please redress.
for working families that don't have enough money to afford decent housing, to allow like their boy and girl to have separate rooms in a house, things like that. What am I not saying? It's 60% AMI, so it's the average income of Myrtle Grove.
Yes, sir. Please. Before we go any further, I would like to hear some support for the initiative. Please come right here. Come right here.
Right here.
Come on. Come. Yeah, you come here. I'm very interested in this. We always. Yeah, absolutely. Before. Please be nice. Remember the kindergarten rule. We play nice. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
My name is James Gully. I live at 121 North L Street, so I'm not a member of this community.
Two rules, remember? What was the first rule? Everybody gets a voice. Second rule, everybody plays nice. I am. We'll hear his voice.
I did attend the meeting last night at the Escambia County site there off of Fairfield, and they did have 3 of the other developers. Now, this is only 1 of 5, and we're not really sure if more than 1 gets elected. And, we might want the workforce housing, but we have 1 there in Brownsville on P Street that is for senior citizens. That might be the one that takes the money. But anyway, they did have presentations. I wish this gentleman had some kind of a presentation for you, but it wasn't conclusive. I mean, they really hadn't laid everything out. However, nobody usually talks about money. You got business people here, that make substantial amount of money. But there's also, and this is on behalf, I'd like to speak to, looking for something. I think I left it down there. But anyway, I'm looking for, okay, for instance, the minimum wage has just been raised to $8.10 an hour. Okay? And I had my figures. Are my figures still down there? I had done the math on it. But if you're making between $27,000 to $32,000 a year, you qualify. Even if you're making $36,000 to $39,000, you qualify. So for this housing, okay. Listen now, and like I said, this is not HUD housing. Some of these other developments are. This, okay.
This is not how you get things effectively done. Let the man speak.
But anyway, some examples of people that are necessary to any community. If you're E1 or E2 military, you qualify. If you're a beginning teacher in this county, you qualify for this housing. If you're a rookie deputy sheriff or a rookie fireman, you qualify for this housing. I mean, not everybody starts with a beginner house and works their way up. I mean, like I said, you got to start at the bottom. That's the way the system is. And so instead of a starter home, most professionals, they rent to start with. And then after their income increases, then they will buy their first house. So there's plenty of people that would benefit from this. And like I say, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody about the amount of income they make. Those people's not going to tell you that. That's private business. We know that. Okay? But it could be useful, but there's no guarantee that it will be accepted.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and supporting this initiative this evening. We'll take this side. I remember I hadn't forgot about you. Please, let's hear you. Your 3 minutes starts now. Go.
Hi, my name's Kim Messer, and I own Tranquil Villas Retirement Village over on 5221 Flaxman. Okay, so I am one of 2 retirement villages over here on the west side. We already have one section of low-income housing on the other side of the post office, which is HUD voucher housing, and so this would negatively affect my community. The community residents that live within Tranquil Villas are senior citizens. They are more vulnerable, as are the residents that live within Myrtle Grove. So essentially this project would sandwich our 2 retirement villages between 2 low-income housing projects. In addition to that, there are infrastructure problems. The infrastructure of the roads are not really sufficient to bring in another large-scale complex. Secondly, there are drainage issues on that property, serious drainage issues. I purchased the property. It was already built, the complex that I have, and I've been dealing with thousands of dollars worth of drainage issues. My residents can attest to the work that we've had to have done there, to have lines put in underneath. So this is going to be something that once construction starts on that spot, all of us that live around there are going to have issues with runoff, with drainage. They're just going to be continued. It's not being, I have owned the property for 8 years, and it has not been, it's not been addressed yet by the county. So if you come in and you say it's regulation and they have to handle it, I'm just telling you, I've been there for 8 years and nobody's handled it for me. So it's going to be a continued problem. Wait. Just a couple more things, because I don't want to give the impression that this community is against affordable housing, because I think everyone can attest to the fact that people need a space to start. But what I'm saying is Myrtle Grove has its fair share of affordable housing, and let some other parts of the city take it on to do their part to help. Because when you put everything in one community, you change the makeup of that community, and it becomes a large-scale rental community instead of a home ownership community. And nothing is going to be revitalized in this area unless we get more people buying homes here and investing money in cooperatives, which is another use for that land, by the way. If the residents put together a cooperative, I can tell you Tranquil Villas would be interested in contributing money. If there's an issue with purchasing that property, if this development doesn't go through, we could look at a park. I know there's a new fire department that needs to be built. And I'm telling you, we will help out, and we will put a hand in that if this particular development doesn't turn out to be the best use of that land.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. All right. Yes, sir? Yeah. Oh, yeah, please. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't hear it. I appreciate the comments. The drainage issue that you're experiencing is obviously from poor planning from before, but the Escambia County planning has already zoned the property to be high-density, mixed-use land, and they're accounting for the need to have proper drainage on the site, and county planning is looking out for everyone. So, I mean, that... And the water management district.
Come to order. Remember second rule. We don't talk about any administration, anything like that. Come to order.
Not what happened.
I think he's next in line. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, baby? All right. Every time I get in front of these, I want to sing a song. Give me a minute, hear me adjust this. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I really appreciate seeing such a huge turnout for my community. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the guys, the gentlemen that own the companies that are planning on building this. Thank you guys for being here. From Myrtle Grove, I offer you my thank you. Takes a lot of brass to go up against a bunch of disgruntled people.
Absolutely.
I took a few notes, and first off, my name is Mark Davis. I just bought a house over in Twin Oaks. My wife and I invested close to $250,000 into our community. And I have two questions. The first one, would you choose to live next door to a low-income housing project? Is Mike?
I would if I knew the developer and the management company were going to do a good job managing it. And when it comes to the low-income housing tax credit program, you need to build these for 50-year. For 50 years, it needs to be viable. We're going to do concrete construction and manage it. We're not allowed to flip the property immediately. We have to hold the property for at least 15 years.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. My next and final question is one of my main concerns. Is I see a lot of dollars, I see a lot of tax money going towards those that, in my opinion, refuse to work for it. Why don't we offer something for people that can't work for it, like our elderly or our children? Why can't we build a park or something to help our senior citizens? That is what Myrtle Grove needs. Thank you very much.
I actually have had a motion to vote, and normally that's what we do. We've never done this with this many people, but normally we have a motion to vote pretty quickly on things if we need to. We're at 7 o'clock. I know there are a lot of people always promise everybody's got a voice. I'm pretty sure at this point I know what most of. Is there anybody else in support? Stop. Okay, stop then. Normally what we do is I sort of vet out a couple of questions. We've done this. I've had county commissioners on stage, and I ask them questions, sort of the follow-up questions that I find to be tough. I bring in the last bit of redress from the individuals that want to speak, that have some concerns, and then I am going to probably close this out fairly quickly, let the commissioner speak. So let's get the people here to speak one last time. I do have a couple of questions that have to be asked. And number one, I wrote it down initially. Fred, you initially said that if this deal doesn't go through, you have plans with it. People wanted an answer to that. Do you want to give an answer to that? Yeah, you can go there. You can go there.
Oh, that was unnecessary. You know, to make fun of my height.
Indeed, I agree. That's unfair. Thanks.
Anyway, let's see here. I had shared this with Ronnie. Essentially, the Escambia County School Board owns some property over there. They've approached us about doing a bus depot over there. I think this is what you're asking me. And, yeah, adjacent to the property where we are. And so I've said, yeah, if this deal doesn't work out, then you guys have first option on it. And the other one was a manufactured home development. So,
what if we tell you that we know that the school board is not interested?
I mean, that's fine. I mean, they told me that they were. If they're not, but I mean,
so then your third option is a mobile home, and we need to vet this out.
Manufactured home.
So your third is manufactured home.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where you are. So either we support. So where you're at in your mind is we support Banyan development and tell taxpayers to pay $32 or $37.5 on this, or it goes to the school district, or it goes to manufactured home in your mind. That's where you're at.
Well, if I may add one thing,
please.
You said we'd have the opportunity
Absolutely.
to discuss something. I mean, you had told me the main concerns here were, one, the fact that it was essentially partially being financed by $37.5 from the county, and that was one of the main oppositions that you saw to the project, that taxpayer dollars were being used. And Alex discussed that is money that is set aside for affordable housing.
But in fairness, Alex didn't give all the facts there. What he said was it was set aside, but what he did not say was that there are multiple, there are also multiple bids on that. That's not just here, right?
I'm not following you.
Well, It doesn't. The money's not going to go away. It's not like we're not going to have affordable housing. We will have that in Escambia County, but it may not be his company. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To one of the developers.
Sure, just one of the developers. We just have to vet that out. Everything has to be said. Go ahead.
Yeah, and another one of the concerns was bringing as many services to the Myrtle Grove community
Such as
you could.
Such as?
Well, I'm telling you, this is what you told me.
Sure.
You know, you're trying to bring additional services here. So, you know, Alex and I sat down, and what we wanted to try to do is figure out a way, how do we help them do that?
Sure.
And so what we have agreed to do, and hopefully cover your objection, because there is a contribution of money passed down through the state of the 37.5. You know, if you guys will support this, we're happy to donate $37,500 to the Myrtle Grove Revitalization Group.
We would have to be. I could tell you. I will tell you as a community. I will tell you that is probably. I don't know that on camera is the best place to negotiate a deal. Number one, we don't have any contracts. Number two, we would definitely have to sit down. That's something after this happened, but that's something that should have come up prior to today, right? Hold on. In fairness, when there was communication between us, that was something that should have been conceded before I got on camera. I'm thinking. Because I can't speak for everybody. I mean, I'm not going to have an opportunity to talk to everybody in the community between now and then. I mean, you guys have to have a deadline. We have to have a deadline. That's unfair. There you go.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to make the offer, and it could be used for another piece of property. There are other properties that could be.
What do you
used
have
for
in mind?
community
Let's
center.
talk. What do you have in mind? And this is your proposal.
That we donate the $37,500 and you use it either for the nonprofit or you use it to purchase another piece of property. I mean,
Folks, if everybody's trying to talk at one time, this sounds worse than a political convention. I'm going to ask you one more time before we conclude the meeting. Is that let's not talk over one another.
I think that
Let people have a voice.
Absolutely, please.
Thank you.
I think here's the thing. I think at the 11th hour, literally, to come to this group in Myrtle Grove and ask to donate $37,500 and sell the centerpiece of this community is reprehensible. I really think that that's unfair. I feel like in my heart that that's something that should have been done a long time ago before today, Fred. I think that's very unfair for you to do. So, on that motion, I am going to ask, is that it? Because we're going to wrap up this. I'm done with this stuff all of a sudden. Do you guys have anything left to say before we move to the commissioner and move to vote? Please.
If anyone wants to see product examples of what we're looking to build.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I am going to tailor remarks for a minute. I'm going to let the commissioner speak, and then we'll kind of go from there. I feel like we're going to move to a vote pretty quickly. Commissioner Doug Underhill, please save me.
Sorry about that. I hate talking on microphones. Wow, that's why. I have very little experience with Myrtle Grove.
Remember the 2 rules. Everybody gets a voice. Play nice.
I'll let you throw the tomatoes all you want. Okay, I'm taking it. Not even a problem. So I'll tell you, I had very little experience with Myrtle Grove. I didn't really know much about Myrtle Grove. I would live out on Perdido Key. I was one of those guys that could kind of pass through. Started to get to know Myrtle Grove when I started to run for office. I'm going to give you a little bit of a just painful, honest truth about how District 2 works. There are 3 precincts in District 2 that you have to carry to win this office. 105, in Erie Point, 105 Perdido Key, 67 Gulf Beach Highway, and 1 south of Barrancas. That's where all the money's at. That's where all the power's at. You guys know it as well as I do. You don't even have to campaign in Myrtle Grove to win this seat. But I came through Myrtle Grove a lot. I knew I had those 3 precincts locked up. So I came door to door through Myrtle Grove. But I didn't come and tell you what you needed. I came and I asked you. And here are the things that I heard. I heard that we don't have the infrastructure. We get passed over for infrastructure all the time. I can run it down through very quickly. Street lights, sidewalks, better crime prevention, better firehouse, streets, drainage. We all know what they are. Okay? And the bottom line is that Myrtle Grove has been ignored on those things for a long time. No question about it. The question was just asked, is it the only reason that you're paying attention because of this housing complex? Who's here is at one of Ronnie's meetings for the first time? It's my third one. Okay? I come out here because I care, because I want to see us get the things in the tapestry of villages. Okay? Myrtle Grove, totally different than Navy Point. Navy Point, totally different than Beach Haven, just north of it. And the people that live in these communities, you know, yes, we're all Pensacolans, but not first. You're Grovers first. You're a Navy Point person first. So when we hear these statistics about what numbers Pensacola has and how much of a need they have within Pensacola writ large to have affordable housing, in all my walks through Myrtle Grove, in all my walks through the west side, guess what? Nobody's ever said, you know what, we need more affordable housing. They said we need more infrastructure. Almost to a man. Almost every person I talk to. So when we found that for 5 years we haven't spent any money of the Safe Neighborhoods money, and we've got $600,000 sitting idle at the county for safe neighborhoods, I didn't say, okay, let's spend some of that money on my friends. I contacted Ronnie's group and I said, okay, we're going to get about a third of that in Myrtle Grove. What do I need to spend it on? What's the level? How much of that needs to go to sidewalks? Where do those sidewalks need to be? Where do the street lights need? Where are the places that need to be lit up the most? All that kind of thing. Okay? Yeah, it is sad. It is a sad fact. And I tell you what, if you really want to change this, I'm going to tell you how you can. It is a sad fact that while we'll fill a church here on the west side, we don't ever go down to the BOCC. Every day you have to understand that there are people on the 4th floor, the Board of County Commissioners, whispering in our ears, telling us where we should be spending money. When you see us spending money, guys, I can't make this up. We bought property in an adjacent county that we're turning into an airfield for the Navy so we can swap over and get the OLF-8 property up in Beulah. Guess what? The Beulah folks are not real keen on that project. But we are spending an enormous and just an offensive amount of your money on this project. When we spend your money on infrastructure projects that promote this constant growth outside, this constant sprawl, then what's happening for those of us that live in the core of the community is that money is not coming to take care of us. This is what has been wrong with Escambia County for so long. The question was asked, why did I run? I ran because I got sick and tired of that. I live on Perdido Key, where we were just about to spend $100 million for a 4-lane highway. Don't get mad yet. Save it, because here's where you should get really mad. $25 million of that is to build 2 bridges over beach mouse territory, beach mouse habitat. $25 million for a bridge for the beach mouse when we haven't even built a bridge on Airport Boulevard that stops traffic every time there's a train. What I don't understand is that Escambia County is a place of very hardworking, very common sense people. Why does our government not reflect that? I don't understand. So that's the answer to your question as to why I ran. Because our government didn't reflect what we wanted. Here's a bombshell for you guys. Folks out on Perdido Key, they don't want a whole lot of money spent out there. They don't really want a 4-lane highway. You know what we could get with $100 million? If you know, you're doing better than I am, because I can't count that far. But one thing I know we could be doing with it is improving the roads through your community. One thing I know we could be doing with that kind of money is fixing the stormwater management issues that we still haven't fixed from 2014. 2 weeks before I ran for this office, I had 3 feet of water in my house. Whole downstairs wiped out. Most of your neighbors to the south here, no problem for me. Guess what? I live on the water. I got flood insurance. It didn't really change the math for me. But you know who it changed it for? The people who live just south of here, down in Lake Charlene. These folks lived in flood zone X. Why would they have flood insurance? Well, guess what? With 6 feet of water in your house, you start wondering, why don't I have flood insurance? Because somebody said, trust the government. They know what they're doing with regard to planning. Folks, I've been with the federal government my whole life. I'm with the county government right now, and I'm telling you right now, don't ever trust anybody who says trust the government. If you think your responsibility to oversee what I'm doing ended at the ballot box, then you're as much as part of the problem as those of us who are up here. You guys have got to keep what is it? It's often said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. You've got to come down there and stick it to us when we say, we're going to spend a bunch of money, it's going to be the best deal ever, we're going to create jobs. Government does not create jobs, people. It does not happen. Government creates an environment in which people want to live there, and they create jobs. Government creates an environment. Government is responsible for the infrastructure. Let me get back to Lake Charlene, okay? And I'm going to get there by way of downtown. Downtown's got a massive flooding problem, right? YMCA almost didn't build their facility because of all the flooding downtown. But guess what? The flooding in downtown, hey, water only goes one way. It goes downhill. The flooding downtown is not a downtown problem. The solution for that is up in the area where the jail is. Okay? That's where the flooding crisis starts for downtown. So let's take that and let's move it out here to the west side. The flooding problems that we have down in Lake Charlene, we will not solve for our neighbors in Lake Charlene unless we solve them up here. Paving over more of Myrtle Grove, growing more in Myrtle Grove without solving these infrastructure problems is simply going to create for us on the west side the same problem that they have down there. For fear of this starting to sound like a campaign thing, and no, I'm not running for office this year. Last year, when this thing came up, this type of thing came up, we said, you know what, staff? Don't ever bring this kind of thing to me at the last minute again. Don't ever bring something to me. You paint me in a corner, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk across your paint. If you come to me at the last minute and say, oh, Commissioner, we got to get this done right now or you're going to lose your funding. We didn't have the funding to begin with, so it's not going to hurt my feelings. Do not paint me in a corner by forcing me to do something and not being able to do the rigor. I told you guys when I ran for office I was going to do 2 things. I would be civil, and then I would do the academic rigor so that when I vote on something, I am voting on it from a position of intelligence that I've thought this thing through. Okay? We told the staff last year, do not come to us with a deadline looming over our heads when something could have been properly staffed up. Okay? The Board of County Commissioners, the local government, has a say in this because it's not just our job to pony up 37.5. It's also our job to say, is this what's best for our community at the local level? And I will tell you that based on some of the things that I saw with the other projects, I think that there's some that are pretty positive. And when they had their meeting last night at the COC, there weren't a lot of people there angry about it. In fact, one of the people who showed up, once they saw the project, said, man, I think I'd like to live there. But that's not Myrtle Grove. I don't care about anybody's $20 million. I don't care about whether or not, about so many of the things that were put up here. What I do care about is what is the best thing for the future of this community called Myrtle Grove. How do we get back to where we once were as a starting point so that we can move forward from there? This program that these gentlemen are working on, this is a very good program, and it is something that is desperately needed in many communities around the United States, around Florida, and around Escambia County. But it is not the right thing, from what I have heard from the citizens of Escambia County, it is not the right thing for Myrtle Grove. After our instructions last year to the staff not to bring something to me in the 11th hour, after our repeated instructions not to put something that involves spending money in the consent agenda. For those that don't know what the consent agenda is, if you watch our meetings, and if you are watching our meetings, I really feel bad for your social life. If you watch our meetings, the consent agenda is about 25 just kind of, what do you call them, like sort of house cleaning items. Like if the IT department's got some extra monitors that they need to access out, okay? That's the kind of stuff that goes in the consent agenda. Item 13, page 26 of our agenda, on Thursday, October 6th, you can go back and look at it online. This project, these 6 projects, each of which would require, if selected, would require $37.5, with no discussion whatsoever, was tucked away in our consent agenda. Okay? Guys, when I ran, I told, bottom line, there are going to be times that I'm going to vote differently than you think I should on something. Any 2 people who ever say that they agree 100% on something, I'd really like to talk to you about my marriage and how I can make that work better. Okay? We are going to disagree. You will sometimes disagree with the votes that I take, but what I promise you is that I will never do things in such a way that you disagree with the process. That's why we did not vote on this last Thursday. That's why we brought it here for you guys to talk about it. Okay? It is imperative that the Board of County Commissioners get past this old paradigm whereby we just pencil whip this stuff when it comes across our desk. And hey, if it gets selected, that's great, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So Escambia County is putting up, I think, 6 projects. Wouldn't it make more sense to find 1 or 2 projects that really meet the needs of this county and focus what little resources we have on getting those projects through the process? If we're all throwing spaghetti against the wall and waiting for something to stick, maybe that's part of why nothing ever sticks. Folks, Escambia County is changing. It is changing, and I mean, there's no way I would have committed. I mean, by the time I'm done with this first term, my 16-year-old son will be out of the house. The best years that I've got with my kid at home, I decided to do this. Doesn't say much for my decision-making processes, I know. Okay, but I decided to do this because when my kids come back from their wars, and for some reason, it seems every Underhill generation serves in the Navy, and for some reason, every generation seems to have to go to war. But when they come back from their war, Escambia County is going to be the kind of place for them that it was for me when I came home. The kind of place that you know why you served, you know why you did those things, you know when you're far away that this place is waiting for you to come back to. So here are the problems that we have with any development of any continued growth of development here without facing the infrastructure. Gas lines, sewer lines, roads, sidewalks, transportation infrastructure, floods, 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 and floods. All of this has to be dealt with before we can start talking about big projects here in Myrtle Grove. Folks, we're taking a step back as we've had to close your firehouse because it's full of mold. Okay, so we're not in the position at this point, and while it might be great to say, by all means, let's get $20 million worth of investment. And I guess, to guys that want a life in politics, focusing on, $20 million worth of investment at a time sounds like a great deal. $20 million steps in the wrong direction, just gets you farther away from where you need to be. Here in Myrtle Grove, it's infrastructure first. It's focusing on the things that we need before we start spending money on all the things that might be wanted. I tried to take this off the agenda Thursday. Lumen May, as you were told, counseled me against that and said, you know what, Doug, no, why don't you go ahead and let these guys speak? And I can understand why he did. These guys do things in America, in Florida, that need to be done. They deserve our respect. They deserve to be heard. At the same time, and so I'm glad that we made that choice. I'm glad that we did not take it off the agenda so that we could have this conversation. I've gotten more input from Myrtle Grove people on this subject than just about everything else in the last 2 years combined. Ronnie, whatever you're doing, man, you're on the right track. This is how it works. So I will tell you, tighten it up. Yeah, all right. It's okay. I'm just about to get the shepherd's crook and get pulled off of here. So you guys came out. You deserve to know what's going to happen on Thursday when this comes back to the agenda. I do intend to remove this one from the agenda. I do intend to support all of the other projects that we're pushing forward, and I intend to continue to press the staff. Tomorrow morning's meeting. I do intend to. Did you see how he did that? That's a pretty good drive-by, Horace. Like that. Intend to support those other ones, the other projects, because there was no community speaking up saying, no, that's not appropriate for our community. And in fact, those that did come said it was, in fact, desirable for their community. So, folks, whatever you walk out of here with tonight, walk out of here knowing this. In your county today, no matter what you know from however long you've been here, but in your county today, the voice of the people in this district, in this community, decides how your representative votes for you down at the Board of County Commissions.
This guy. Okay, so now I think we've heard a lot of opinions. A lot of people have expressed their concern. As always, I end the meeting with asking a few questions, follow-up questions of the people, and then we sort of move to an initiative of whatever. For example, the last initiative, I think it was the $165,000 for the street lights and sidewalks that we came together as a group and petitioned the county, and I can honestly say that that is currently being surveyed. It is in the works. Very soon we will have some sidewalks and some street lights that ironically enough will encompass Mr. Gunther's property. We're very thankful that he will get that from us. Very good. Last couple of questions, though, and this I do have to ask of Banyan Group because I think that this is important. Number one, what services, you said services, what services does your company provide as a whole? What do you guys, besides the housing, of course, what do you guys provide? Please.
Resident services we're doing literacy.
Sure.
We're doing after-school care for children. What am I missing? We usually partner with a group called Treehouse, which is a nonprofit, which has an extensive
Nonprofit. Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Look at there. That's pretty ironic, isn't it?
And they come to the developments and they offer services.
Would that nonprofit, if we move to say yes on this, would those
Computer
services
training.
Would the community be able to, especially financial literacy, since you know that financial literacy is a big portion of, I mean, you spoke a lot about numbers, would the community be able to use those literary services at Banyan Development?
I mean, the residents of the community, the community would typically be the ones that would utilize those resources. Trying to bring in, the community at large is sort of difficult from a liability standpoint. And
it's hard to bring a lot of people together, trust me.
I'm not saying that it's not beyond question. I mean, maybe there's a way we can carve out a half acre on the site and somehow do a community center on that.
Open to the community.
Open to the community. I mean, we could donate it to, say, this group. That's a possibility Fred and I discussed as well. And so it's possible. Sure. It's just not typically what happens. It's usually a community for the residents of the community.
Sure. Other question, and I got to ask, this is probably the last question before we move to the vote, and I will sort of wrap it up. But this is the last question that I have to know. I can't. If you grow up in Myrtle Grove, you got to leave everything on the table. Most everybody here knows, and I would be remiss if I walked out that door and I didn't answer the simple question: would you guys be willing to sell it to our community? Since you're willing to give the $37.5 to us, certainly you would be willing to serve that in some other way and help us with the purchase of that for everybody here, right?
We can't until year 15.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's remember now, everybody has an ability in this community to go out tomorrow, before we close this. Tomorrow, the county commission meets at, is that 9 o'clock in the morning? If you can make it, we ask that you come. We ask that you voice your opinion there. I have taken off of work to be there in the morning. It's a shame that some paid person has to take off of work and address their local government. It disturbs me deeply, Commissioner Underhill, but nevertheless. I will be there. I've taken a day off of work to express whatever we vote now. And remember, I love all the county commissioners. I really do. They're a great organization. They're great people. But at the end of the day, it's about you and your voice. It's not about them and their voice. You've already told them that they have to go represent you. So with an up or down vote, would you support this initiative? No. Do you decline this initiative? Yes. Think this meeting's adjourned? See you guys tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Wear green. Wear green for Myrtle Grove. Wear green.